Please welcome Tatum O'Neal. I like your crinoline.
I barely made it.
Well, you know, there's a New York traffic.
A fireman was,
Putting out a fire on the block?
no, there was a fireman killed on a movie set in Brooklyn. And so they're having his parade today. So that's why it was hard to get here.
Oh, right, we've been following that
It
story here
wasn't
in New
just
York.
like, you know, bad traffic in New York.
Yeah.
I used to do a show about firemen, so I was like, you know, I will get here, but I made it.
You made it. I love crinoline. It's the most ridiculously silly material ever. I love it. I talk about it all the time. So thank you for wearing crinoline. You probably didn't know, but I love it.
I love crinoline. Should I sit closer? I don't know. How do you do this?
No, they like you here.
Okay.
Look, put your feet on those feet, though, because we have a shoe camera.
Okay.
Here, and then you can model them. Yeah. Turn them around.
These are actually vegan.
They're vegan?
Yep.
They have a nice block heel.
And yes, and wait, how do you do this?
There you go. The shoe camera.
Sarah Alviti helped me get this, and I've never used a stylist before, but I'll always use her now.
Do you eat meat?
Yeah. I do. I mean, I didn't for a long time, but I do now.
You look good.
Oh, thank you. So do you.
Thank you. But I'm talking about in terms of Hollywood, and you've been around for a long time.
Yeah, I should look like hell. I really should.
Well,
I should be tired.
I mean, you've had a legendary life, clubbing with Cher.
No. Well, little.
Oh, yes.
Mostly living with Cher, which was like my dream. Like, only because like she had a great mother, a great sister, a great best friend named Paulette, who is still her best friend, who is my good friend, and we are still in touch. So I felt like there was a family there, and I had to be extricated out of her house.
How old were you during the times that you were living with Cher?
Well, I did her show, which is really cute. You can YouTube
the Razzle Dazzle Hour?
with the
Sonny?
Cher Show.
Oh,
No.
the Cher Show.
Right, sort of after that. And you can YouTube it. It's very cute. We have duets. And I caused a lot of little dramas between her and Raquel Welch. Because I was, I guess, like naughty in a way, I guess.
Why were you living with Cher? Why not live?
Why at home?
Yes.
I don't know. Like, I guess because I was always like looking for like some kind of like female mommy.
Where was your mom?
Well, she lost custody of me when I was 6, but it's not. The way that sounds is bad because she had an addiction problem, and she just couldn't take care of us anymore. But as I've gotten older, I realized that my mother was pushed aside, marginalized by her addiction, not given a second chance, and the buck stops here with me, where men can get, screw up and like get right back into what I do for a living.
Gotcha.
Where like I basically have to, I don't know.
So you have
there's a different standard for my male colleagues, let's just say, than there are for the women.
We're starting to learn a whole lot more about it.
Right, and I'm just really glad to see you doing as well, because...
Yeah, I wasn't me too. I wasn't, but it is tough out here being abroad. It definitely is. We're judged very differently. So you have 2 brothers.
Three brothers,
and then you. And
I'm the oldest.
Your mom was a
great actress named Joanna Moore.
And she and Ryan O'Neal had you beautiful children.
Me and my brother Griffin. And she was Peggy on the Andy Griffith Show. So she was...
Oh!
Right, she was his girlfriend, and she sang and wrote books, and she talked like this, and she was from Georgia, but then when she was mad, she's like, gosh darn, Tatum, I'll get you with a switch.
But here's the thing that's really interesting, because, Tatum got her Oscar for Paper Moon when she was 10 years old. And her father, Ryan O'Neal, was also in Paper Moon, and he was nominated. He did not win.
But he wasn't nominated for that. He was nominated for Love Story.
For Love Story.
But he was making Barry Lyndon in England at the time.
How did he feel about you getting an Oscar at such a young age?
I think he was really proud.
Yeah.
It seems like.
So I was reading recently that your Oscar was at his house, and you actually had to go to his house sometime recently.
I just thought that it was probably time to like reclaim.
Take it back.
Reclaim Oscar, you know. I want to do a one-woman show and just have Oscar just being with me and
around
like
the family.
and just like, yeah, you know, we don't have to be the record holders forever, but you come up with a child actor who can do that many lines.
Yeah.
Because I think I had the most lines of any supporting actor.
You had, you know, by all accounts, a seemingly odd life. And then you get that Oscar at 10 years old. And
It got odder after that, by the way.
Yeah, well, then you went on to date Michael Jackson.
Yes, but first I did Bad News Bears, which
Right,
was
which we
seminal
loved.
for a lot of young men out there and women who saw sort of what Kevin Smith. I just did his podcast, and he goes, that character Amanda Wurlitzer, she had agency, and I went on to cast all of my films with the woman she was the standard bearer for every movie I ever cast, and I was like, that's the best compliment I've ever had.
You know what? But your life has taken a turn for the totally different. I mean, one day you have an Oscar, the next day you're playing alongside Aiden from Sex and the City. Did you see him in the clip, or was I the only one?
You mean in the thing that I just did?
Yes, no, we'll get to that in a moment.
But I worked on Sex and the City too.
Right, you're the shoe lady. Damn you.
I was so mean.
Yes,
to
you
Jessica.
were. Mean and delicious. But listen, back to the oddity of Hollywood. So you're 10 years old. It seems like maybe some of the adults around you trotted you around almost like an entree to get into places. Like, you want to get into Studio 54?
Or maybe I was a good wingman, you know.
Were you getting high?
Me? No. At 12? At 11? Honey, it took me till I was 19. Like, let's just like 18.
How old were you when you took your first drink?
Oh, I was 6 years old with my mother, because I wished it was funny.
Yeah, you guys.
You know, here's the thing, like, for my mother to have lost custody of me in the 70s, it means it had to be really bad.
Yeah.
And at the time, my mother was living with a 15-year-old and...
Boy or girl?
A man.
Oh, a boy.
As a man, like as her lover. And she had been given amphetamines for her career to lose weight. And then she had the ism. She got immediately addicted, and as we all know, we are not our best selves when we're in active addiction.
Absolutely.
And she really kind of made life. It was just very difficult, and a lot of beatings and a lot of sexual abuse.
Were you sexually abused?
Yeah.
By a family member?
No. By that person's brother that she was
The
living with.
15-year-old.
Yeah, and then there was somebody in my father's life as well when I turned about 13. But you know.
What I heard was when you were about 13 or 14, you had issues with your weight, which I don't see where. I never remember a bloated Tatum O'Neal. You and I are the same age. I never, and
you look great.
Thank you. But I never remember a Tatum O'Neal with weight issues. As a matter of fact,
listen, I'm sorry. At the time that I was dealing with my weight issues, my dad was living with Farrah Fawcett, and she was very slender and had sort of this amazing flat stomach. And I was 15 and awkward and grew kind of tall very fast. And my hair was kind of, they didn't have straightening irons at the time.
Is it true that your father co-signed on cocaine because he says that'll keep the weight off?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm in the place where I want my dad to know that I forgive him, I love him, and forgive him is the wrong word, that I wish him the best. I'm looking at you, Dad, if you're watching this. I really, really love you, and I want you to get better, and forgiveness is the only way.
What's your relationship like with John McEnroe? Because you were married to John for a moment. That was a big moment in paparazzi history right there.
Yeah, before internet and stuff.
Yeah. So you're busy.
He was my first love, and maybe my only love, I don't know.
And you were caught up in addiction very deeply during this marriage?
No. See, people make narratives up, and I'm not saying you did that, but it's amazing to me, without having any kind of, because I've written about it in my book. I had never ever tried hard drugs.
What's that? Heroin?
Heroin.
Okay.
Until my separation agreement, in which my kids were with John when my daughter was 3 years old. My son was 5.5 years old, and my daughter was 8 years old. No, my daughter was the youngest. She was 3 years old. My oldest was 8 years old. So in those 2 weeks, I ended up meeting someone who, now people that end up getting addicted don't feel good about themselves and are extremely sad.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that about myself.
So
and it was a terrible mistake, and I wish it had never happened.
The perils of addiction. Well, we're glad you're sober now. Your relationship with John, I guess you've moved on. All your kids are old enough, so there's no custody or anything like that.
No, and I went back and got custody.
It was really nice to meet you.
Oh.
Tatum O'Neal, everybody. Her new movie is called God's Not Dead, A Light in the Darkness.
It's coming out
it's theaters on Friday.
Friday.
I did a lot of TV press yesterday. We could talk about my Wendy Williams interview.
Wait, okay.
She was crazy.
Tell me everything.
Literally. She was like, "You were molested." That was like, she just like came out with these like, "Your dad gave you cocaine to lose weight, right?" I go, "No." And it was like at non sequitur after non sequitur. And then she was like looking through me. And then I go, "Okay, it was really nice to meet you. Goodbye."
And you left with that?
I did. I like went high, she went low.
Interesting. I feel like that's kind of what Wendy does. That's in a way her gift,
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I have not watched enough of Wendy Williams to know that she would not even mention the film that I'm
She
in.
didn't bring the film up?
No.
I'll do it. Okay. See, I love Wendy because it's almost like a hologram of a person where it's like, oh my God, Wendy Williams.
She's even a little bit more kind of non sequitur since she had the fainting thing.
Yeah.
She's a little, I'm not quite sure what's going on. I don't know if she knew who was sitting there.
Like she was fed the questions and then read the questions?
No, but I think that she just, I don't know. It didn't seem like she knew.
Did she seem like she was healthier?
I don't know. You guys can figure that one out yourself.
Okay. You know what I love on the show?
Honesty.
Mystery. And I love honesty. But I love a bit of that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Well, I won't ask you any of those questions. I'm here just to
ask about whatever you want.
Every guest who comes on, my goal is to be friends.
I hope she's okay.
Yeah.
I really do. I hope she's really okay.
Right.
I did worry when I left the show.
Really?
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Yeah, I just worried about her. I was like, wow.
You know, sometimes when you do a live show and your guest is late, your guest is not briefed on what they already told you they were going to talk about before they get here. So we brief our guests twice. In the case of Tatum O'Neal, who was on our show yesterday, and I love her. We're the same age. I grew up with Bad News Bears and all the movies and things like that. Tatum was briefed where she lives in LA from our producers here, my senior producers, and what I was going to be discussing with her. You know, she's got a book out about her life, and in the book, boy, oh boy, I gotta tell you something. The amount of drugs and debauchery and things going all awry in her life. It's a miracle that she's still alive and able to tell her own story. So these are the types of things that I wanted to talk to her about. And she agreed when she was in LA. So then we send the ticket, we get the hotel room. Yeah, we're a talk show, we do that for our people. She flies to New York, and then, as usual, our guests get briefed a second time once they get in the Wendy building. And that briefing is to remind them of what they agreed to talk about. Okay, you're gonna talk about your mother, who yesterday, her mother, who's since passed away, she wasn't so kind regarding the mom leaving, you know, the kids. She left Tatum at 15 and the son her brother at 14 in the house by themselves with Ryan, who was a megalomaniac, really into his good looks and the whole Hollywood thing. He did with the kids what he could, but he wasn't the best role model for a father. And the mother was strung out on all kind of drugs and then took up with a 15-year-old. So now we have drugs and pedophilia. I didn't get a chance to talk about that because Tatum arrived late, if you watched yesterday's show. So she wasn't briefed again here in New York. She became a new person. Everything that she was briefed to talk about, it seems like she was like, You know, that movie that she did with her father, Paper Moon, where she won the Oscar. Do you know that the following year, Jodie Foster was cast as the Tatum O'Neal character for a sitcom that briefly ran in 1994? I know because I watched. It was on from September to December, and then it got canceled. But I want to know, like, why wasn't she the star of that? Why did they put Jodie Foster in there? And, you know, what was really good with your relationship with John McEnroe, because it was abusive, and there were lots of drugs going on, accusations, and he's since gone on and gotten married, but one passage in the book was about, like, John would blame his losses in tennis when he would lose, on the family, and have them sitting in a chair and circle around the chair screaming and yelling and stuff, just like horrible, you know? And then Tatum, she kind of brushed off her drug use, but you know, when you take your first drink at 6 with your mom, and then your father tells you when you're 15 that cocaine will help you lose weight, you see? But you come on the Wendy couch and try to make me look like, oh, I'm beating up Bambi. No, that's not the way it was. That's not the way it was, you all. I'm telling you, that's not the way it was. And then, when she talked about Farrah and Ryan and living, and Farrah being so beautiful and her being insecure, Tatum being insecure about her weight, what she failed to say is that Ryan ran off to live with Farrah, who, by the way, he stole Farrah from Lee Majors. Lee Majors had run the $6 Million Man. Oh, a whole nother story. Look, honey, I was so well-versed because Tatum O'Neal is from my era. I wanted to put it down. But anyway, so Ryan runs off and lives with Farrah and lives the Hollywood life, leaving the kids, the two teenagers, you know, a 15 and a 14-year-old to raise themselves. So when you wonder why she was over at Cher's house, like, she kind of poo-pooed that off too. But let me tell you something right now. When you come to a Wendy conversation, the conversation is real. And if you see me, a lot of times it's because the people who sit on the couch are all of a sudden backpedaling on what they originally said that they were going to talk about. I don't know who that was yesterday. That wasn't Tatum O'Neal. However, we did end on very, very good terms. You know, when we hug and say goodbye, and I always whisper sweet nothings into my guest's ears. And she said, look, she said, it's just one of those days. You know, Dad is not doing well, and but I want to come back on the show and give it to you good. She's working on a one-woman show. So I'll take a second time around. I will take it. But I'm just trying to clear my name. I was hella ready. Yeah. Suzanne, it felt good to get that Tatum thing off my chest.
Yes, I'm glad you did.
You didn't even know what was going on.
I didn't know what was going on, no.
Because she came right from her car, right in here, and all of a sudden she was a kumbaya. I'm like, kumbaya.
Yes, yes.
Let's get down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
And she was all, Shade to who? Shade to who?
No, you were not shady.